Welcome everyone to the Area 111 live stream. This is your host RH coming at you from Central Florida. Welcome everyone to the Area 111. Okay, we have the beautiful echo in the background, which means we are live. Audio is fine on YouTube. I'm going to check the Rumble real quick. Okay, this is going to be probably well, I consider it a very important giant voice broadcast, if you will. This is going out in the clear. So, the military men and women, they should know what I'm talking about. Okay. Military, giant voice broadcast is basically goes out to military bases in the clear because, you have to take immediate, like defensive postures, seek shelter or whatever, and that kind of thing. So, OPSEC, of course, is Operation Security and defensive measures. Let's kind of like put this in this kind of like window of defensive countermeasures or defensive measures. I don't know if y'all remember Desert Storm, but after Desert Storm, we had to implement the northern and southern no-fly zones. But I'll get into that. Those are combat air patrol. That's precautions. Those are set up to protect our forces, equipment, tier one, weapons, if you would call it that. We have to maintain a state of readiness that is equal or greater than the threat. We have DEFCONs and that kind of thing. And I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. And I'm going to go back over the foreign military and terrorist insurgency that was let into our country, purposeful. Okay, we've seen these actors in other countries around the world, so we've seen the same people, the same tactics. I talked about it a little bit in the 4-hour marathon last night. But anyways, or the night before last, I can't get my days straight here, but I will get right to it. And this is very important. Now, I'm not trying to tell the top level generals or Pete Hegseth or President Trump, our commander in chief, what to do or not to do. These are recommendations. I'm in no position of government or in the military. I'm not a military spokesperson. This is just coming from my heart as RH, as a normal citizen like everybody else. I'm very disappointed, I have to say, before I really get started, in our civil defense. I'm very, very disappointed. I'll touch a little bit on that. And remember, okay, I want to state the obvious. And, far as threats go, I'm going to state the obvious, and I'm going to state some things that people might not even be thinking about. What I really, really dislike is people out there that let their hatred of Israel control not only their emotions, but their actions. And some of those actions are traitorous. Whether we like it or not, Israel is an ally of the United States. And I like for people to remember that before 1979 and the Iranian hostage crisis and the Iranian oil crisis, the hostage crisis and the oil crisis, we were friends and allies with Iran. Iran's leader, the Shah of Iran, he was a populist leader. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. All you got to do is go back and look at the videos. We were immensely proud of our diplomacy with Iran, working with the Shah of Iran. And remember, we armed them for self-defense. They had F-14 Tomcats. So a lot of people are not even old enough to even remember any of this stuff. So, I was already in the military before the Iranian oil crisis, or the hostage crisis took place. I was already in the Air Force, command and control, working with NORAD, our joint partner, Canada. In case people forget, we're the ones that helped set up the defensive posture for Canada for their national security. I hope they don't forget that. I'm going to try to keep it toned down. I've heard people, former military officers, basically, let's just say this, they're calling out sites to hit for the regime, the current regime in Iran, calling out openly to hit sites inside Israel. And I would like to remind people that we have about 100,000, if not more, U.S. citizens currently in Israel. And okay, so I'm going to check out Rumble over there, make sure everything's working fine. There's going to be some messages I put out tonight, and I hope it gets to the right ears. The right ears meaning the President of the United States. Oh, who is this guy, RH? Just go ahead and think that. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to expose the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And on top of it, I'm going to keep reaffirming Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. I can't say it enough. I'm a Christian. I don't want to see anybody killed or murdered. No one. Obviously, in a defensive posture, if you're being attacked, you got to stop the murderer from murdering again. Or you got to stop the murderer before the murderer even kills the first time. You sure as heck shouldn't allow it to continue. Okay? So if people want to hear the scripture base, I will talk about that. You want to hear the justification of what you do with a murderer? We're not talking about an accident, an accidental death. So that's the reason why I don't talk about thou shalt not kill, because people want to think they're going to school me that it should be thou shalt not murder. I should be saying that. We know what it means. Obviously. So, people in our own, even I'm pretty sure Intel, they vehemently hate Israel. And to be specific for some individuals, they vehemently hate Jews. I hear this all the time, even calling me a Jew lover, right? Remember the exchange between Yeshua and Pontius Pilate, the governor? Remember the exchange? Who who committed the greater sin? See, Pontius Pilate was going to create the lesser sin. Who created the greater sin? It was the Jews, right? That's all you hear. Well, Judas Iscariot of Satan, right? That's what he did. What he did. He's of Satan, right? Of the devil. That's who tempted him to do what he did, to betray Yeshua for 30 shekels of silver. Think about that. You know, once you do that stuff and you go, oh my God, you have an epiphany or whatever, you go, okay, well, here's your money back. How many of these murderers have been funded, covertly funded? Okay, so let me check Rumble real quick. Okay, if this gets a little bit emotional here, because I do have a living soul. I do have a living soul. So if it gets a little bit loud, just turn the volume down. Don't judge the messenger, right? Listen to the message. And uh, uh, I just hate to repeat it. Okay. And one thing I'm going to state is very, very clear. And a lot of people, they don't look in this in this far as this angle. It's not really an angle. Okay, so again, let me check Rumble real quick. Make sure that's online and going. Yeah, I had a video clip of Admiral Byrd over there on Rumble, basically stating the point importance of the Panama Canal and basically the southern portion of the world. So anyways, um, let me do a volume check real quick on Rumble. Testing 1 2. 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 Okay, so to get down to business here, I did an audio check on Rumble and everything's fine over there. So now operations security, OPSEC, okay? That is vital for any operation. And I'm going to say we kind of got a good idea that they've been trying to telegraph President Trump's real-time positions. Let's just be blunt. They facilitated and directed an invasion into our country. These people are trying to change history of our country, and what's beautiful about our country, that's part of the PSYOPs operation. Remember October 7th of 2023, those operatives that went in and killed all those men, women, and children. Remember those operatives. Remember the proxies of Iran, the current leadership of Iran. They are operating during the No Kings protest. They have mobilized those people into our country. And a lot of people in our country, it's sad to say, they don't care about anybody but themselves. You know, they give them a few dollars, whatever, they'll do anything. They don't care. Even put their own life in jeopardy. Confronting with police. Let's state the obvious here. OPSEC, if you got anybody, you got these moles inside this administration, inside our armed forces, inside the DOD, Department of Defense, inside the Pentagon, you need to find them, root them out before they leak any more information to get people killed, murdered because of their hatred. You need to root them out and put them in prison. And they should go before a military tribunal. Period. Cut dry. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a weapons inspector. I could care less who you are. If I had the authority, I'd arrest you myself. Now, the intel world, we work with other intel sources too. And you sit there and you transmit the location of those facilities, covert facilities, and they get hit, somebody should be at your doorstep paying you a visit. An interview, we could call it an interview. Interview you. The vehement hatred. The vehement hatred. Now, last night, or it's been a while. Yeah, not last night or night before last, I talked about the four quarters in Jerusalem. I think it might be Old Jerusalem. I'm not exactly sure. People can look it up. The four quarters in Israel. Let's just say Israel, since people hate the term Jew so much, Jewish people or whatever. Let's just say Israel, okay? That's the country. That's a former kingdom. Israel was a former kingdom. Judah was a former kingdom. Even the Persian king Cyrus, basically, all that information, if people don't understand that, I can't help you. But you need to basically, I don't know, get an exorcism, get those demons out of you, because your hatred, you don't have to like Jewish people. You don't have to like them. But what about the Arabs, Israeli Arabs that live in Israel peacefully? What about the four quarters where Jewish people, Christians, Muslims, and Armenians worship in peace? Remember our history? Oh, and then you hear this little diatribe of how much they supported Israel and they love Israel and all this stuff, right? And October 7th they attacked themselves. They stood down. They allowed it to happen. Right? Wrong. You know, there's a lot of money. I figured this out a long time ago. There's a lot of money if you're an anti-Jewish person hater. You're anti-Israeli hater. There's a lot of money for that. Let's just call it what it is. These people don't care about anything but themselves. We care about the Iranian people. Don't sit there and lecture us. Us meaning conservatives and Christians. Don't lecture us. We got traitors in the midst. They're even talking about ejecting Trump. They're talking about a coup again. They put together another coup before Donald Trump even got in office his second term. They're already running their coup. They're working with enemies of the United States. Now, don't blame RH because he's not the official person that designated the IRGC and Iran as terrorist organizations. Iran is the number one state sponsor of terrorism. The regime, not the people, not our friends. They've been under occupation of a far radical regime since 1979. And the left-wing propaganda about the Shah of Iran. He's a dictator. He's a tyrant. They did the same thing to Hosni Mubarak in Egypt before they overthrew him. Who was part of the jailbreak? Iran, their leadership, and Hamas helped Mohammed Morsi get broken out of prison in the Cairo, Egypt prison and killed 2 Egyptian guards. Mohammed Morsi was being tried by the highest court of the land for treason. Use your imagination why he was charged a treason, but during the trial he died. During the trial he died. You know, Israel has their own weapons. Of course, we know. I want to ask a serious question here to all those haters out there. Those people that are demonically possessed with a hate so much, they'll destroy everything around them just so they can get back at the they call the Jews. Even trying to pervert history and biblical history. Who armed Iran's leadership, the number one state sponsor of terrorism, and the IRGC with advanced weaponry that they just shot into what do you call it? Tel Aviv. The ballistic missiles. Who provided those them to Iran's leadership? Knowing that it's a terrorist country designated state sponsor of terrorism. The leadership, not the people. Of course, there are some elements in there of the people that just hate the United States. They agree with these calls, death to America. Their hatred's gone off the charts too. I understand that. We was never the people of Iran's enemy. And I'm speaking far as the Christians go too, and even the Jewish people. Because remember, it was King Cyrus, the Persian, that basically allowed the Jews or the Hebrews, however you want to call them, to rebuild Jerusalem again. People don't even remember. A lot of people out there, I'm not talking about people in this community. Most people understand what I'm saying. If they don't understand it, they can look it up. And I provide source references. Right? So we have to take defensive measures to protect our military men and women and civilians overseas. Okay, those advanced ballistic missiles that are striking Israel, guess what they are? What do you think we're doing? Let's just say it like it is. China is a nuclear country, nuclear weapon country. Russia's a nuclear weapon country. So is North Korea, a nuclear weapons country. What do they all have in common? They're allies with Iran's leadership, the state sponsors of terrorism, and the IRGC. They've been working with them. Those ballistic missiles can be fitted with nuclear warheads. Now, each of those countries, China, North Korea, and Russia, have nuclear weapons. They don't care. They want to decimate. They want to level Israel. They don't care. They don't care who they kill. That's their Hail Mary. That's the reason why we're moving additional strength, posturing additional strength to set up catbirds to protect our bases over there in the Middle East. That's as far as I'll go with it. Yeah, and a lot of times these other, I'm pretty sure President Trump is. I think they found something. If the Iranian people, that had to flee Tehran, they're only giving them 20 liters of gas. 20 liters. We can't set up staging areas for them if they can't even get there. You know what I mean? We have no qualms with those Iranian citizens at all, especially the green Iranian citizens. We're not talking about the Green New Deal here. We're talking about peace, right? Peace. There's an organization, the Greenpeace. I'm not referring to them. I'm referring to the green organization, Iranian organizations. They don't want this stuff. So we're taking vital, necessary defensive posturing to protect our forces overseas and to protect our people in Israel. We got, like, again, I'm going to repeat this again, the four quarters, remember, where the Muslims, where the Jews, where the Christians, and where the Armenians worship in peace. oh, Jewish people are racist and whatever. Those people, those mouthpieces on the left, they don't know what they're talking about. And you can't allow these moles and these covert operatives still got their tentacles in our intel community to allow them to bring in murderers and put them on our streets. The No Kings deal. Remember, I'm gonna talk about this very briefly. The No Kings deal. You know who put that together? The heirs of Walmart. That's immaterial. You also have a Chinese billionaire behind all this stuff, right? China. We're not a monarchy. The United States of America is not a monarchy. Trump is not soliciting to be a king. He, even at the UN, he gave a speech. He said, I'm not the president of the world. I'm the president for the United States of America. I don't even think he referred to he's not a king or whatever. Well, that's basically what he said. And we all know that. What is the kings that they're referring to? The king of all kings first, Yeshua. Remember, out of their platform, the Democrats removed the names God in Jerusalem from their platform. You know, who's called the Prince of Peace? That sure isn't evil, right? Okay. Who's the eldest son of the Shah of Iran? Who's the eldest son? See, the No Kings, those backers, right? That's China. That's the Iran leadership. That's probably Russia too. We don't have a monarchy in the United States. Think about the monarchy far as overseas. Trying to draw us into World War III. I don't know. Maybe. Hey, Tanya, great to see you here. Jeff, good to see you here too, as well. We got to keep very close eye on this. So remember, there's intel, basically operatives inside Iran. So now the president's basically walking a tightrope from what he gets with these warmongers, that are trying to force him into getting kinetic directly with Iran. Right now, I don't see the reason for it unless they have found something. See, there's a lot of people, even the IRGC members, the top leadership, whether they've been deposed or whatever, whatever, however you want to call it. I don't like to talk that way because it's sad. They have plenty of time. Hey, Tracy, great to see you. So there are covert operatives on the ground, teams of operatives on the ground. Also, we have technology that basically can test for, that kind of stuff as well. We know the signature of the, those warheads. And you know which warheads I'm talking about, right? That can be fitted on their current ballistic missile systems. They can be fitted. One of those things could take out pretty much all of Israel. major population centers. So how many people, all those people that hate Israel, is that what you want? Oh, for 40 years, RH, they said Iran was going to get a nuclear weapon. Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon. They just proven this regime, what's left of it anyways, is still proven to everyone they don't care who they kill because their hatred overclouds their logic or common sense. So this is what bothers me. And I wish these top level generals that are in their right minds and don't use faulty logic and have common sense for the national security of our country and to help defend American citizens abroad, whether they're in uniform or not in uniform, whether covert or overt, it doesn't matter. Let's state the obvious again. As far as there are no kings, they do not want the Shah of Iran's son to get back in power again. That's the far left. Remember, they did the same thing to Hosni Mubarak in Egypt. Why did they do that to him? Because he had a peace treaty with Israel. Who did the Biden administration put in power after they basically formed the coup to remove Hosni Mubarak? They put in power the organization that founded Hamas. So any of the stuff I say right now on this channel for the, putting out information for our community and hopefully it gets shared. If you find anything that is wrong, what I'm saying, please correct me. I support constructive criticism. Please correct me. And if I find myself wrong based on those sources, I will make the necessary corrections. Go up there and correct me. So there's still a question about Ryan Ruth. Who tipped him off that President Trump was going golfing that day? Who knew President Trump was going golfing that day? In the morning. I still don't believe that Ruth was camped out there for 12 hours. I believe he got there in the morning and set up in the morning because he was told that Donald Trump was going golfing that morning. Who knew inside? The insiders knew that's supposed to be around President Trump's security team. The insiders knew. Or a mole knew. Lindsey Graham knew. Lindsey Graham knew. Lindsey Graham's going over to where? Ukraine. And we're funding covertly operations with assassin teams. Oh, really? All right, you don't know what you're talking about. Ryan Ruth was working directly with Ukraine and individuals working in the Capitol building with members of Congress. You got, what's his name? The big bird, the former FBI director out there calling for, the messaging, right? With the seashell formations. Are you seriously? Okay, they set that up, and they said, well, they didn't arrest beautiful bill. So they had to compromise and not Comey because they wanted that bill passed. What? What kind of logic is that? Give me a freaking break. Yeah, he's a mole, right? Another mole with a little love bug. I won't even go down that road, but he's got another history out there that a lot of people don't even talk about. You know, that's that's his life. It ain't got nothing to do with me. As long as he's with other consensual adults, whatever he does behind closed doors, that's his own problem, not mine. Well, Sean Hannity also knew that Trump was going to golfing that morning, and he also made a statement. He didn't go because he didn't want to be killed. Killed, of course, in the game of golf. I wonder if he's wearing his CIA pin when he made that statement. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not accusing Sean of doing anything. He appears to support the president quite a bit, but you know, remember all the never Trumpers? Tucker Carlson was a never Trumper, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Tucker Carlson thought President Trump would or Donald Trump would be an ogre, right? He said, not as wise as they are. Mark Levin, another never Trumper. We can't forget about Glenn Beck, another never Trumper. You know, remember Megyn Kelly? You remember that debate? Boy, she got put in her place pretty quick, didn't she? Man, they were all against Trump. Remember that? I've known about Trump since I've been about 14 years old. Known about him. I've never met him personally. It'd be great to meet him and thank him for all his hard work and helping to make America great again and helping keep America safe again. So I promised I would say something real quick, but I'm going to do this. And for people that uh, this bothers you that I read scriptures, just turn the volume down for a minute. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to like it. Remember, our Constitution was derived from our laws. The Constitution was derived from the Holy Scriptures. So, anyways, going to Numbers chapter 15 again, real quick. See if I can do this a lot faster than I did last time. Okay, I would like to remind people, even those people running around with the black robes, one law and one manner shall be for you, and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. That's Numbers chapter 15, verse 16. Okay, remember the Democrat platform, they omitted the words God and Jerusalem out of their platform. They had to go back in there. The delegates had to vote, right? Aye or nay to basically reinstate God and Jerusalem back into their platform. Even though they had multiple votes, they had to voice their, and the loudest voice got it either God and Jerusalem resubmitted back into their platform. The nays, no. After about 3 votes, they did it 3 times. The nays were actually louder than the yays, but they went with the nays anyways. That should tell you all you need to know. What is the old name for Jerusalem? Salem. Remember the Most High of Salem? And who's called the Prince? Salem means peace. Peace. That's right, peace. Who's the Prince of Peace? Yeshua. He's our Prince of Peace. He's our King of all kings. They not only omitted God the Father, they omitted God the Son. Inadvertently, if they didn't realize what they're doing. Okay, so Numbers chapter 15, verse 16. One law and one manner shall be for you and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. Okay, going to Exodus. Let's go all the way back to Exodus. Chapter 12, verse 49. What does that state? 12:49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. One law. And we have an immigration law. That applies for all Americans. We have one law for our immigration. We are just enforcing the law. Our current government is trying their best to enforce the law. Okay, what about what basically God said, or the Word of God says about a murderer? Whoso, okay, this is Numbers chapter 35, verse 30. Whoso, and say, so somebody doesn't argue with me, I'll put murders instead of killeth. Okay, but okay, whoso murdered any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Moreover, ye shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death. Okay? So, that should end the argument, right? No, it won't end the argument. Especially with non-believers that don't have faith, and in my opinion, I'm not judging them. Faith is a blessing. You can't allow, no matter where they are on the planet, murderers to continue to go murder more people, innocent people. So that's the reason why the Iranian people need to stand up and choose their own leaders again. Choose their own leaders. It's their country. We support their sovereignty. Okay, so I want to bring up, and I'm not trying to basically encourage war. I'm just the opposite. I'm just bringing up history, which seems like there's a lot of people that forget history. Remember, even Obama's own campaign team flew to Israel to try and attempts to overthrow Bibi Netanyahu, no matter how, if you like him or not. It's immaterial. And mercenaries are people like Judas Iscariot. They could care less, especially if they're demonically possessed with that hatred that contorts their entire face and their voice. I talked about Legion, right? And the wild man that was basically staked outside the city or the village or the tribe because he's so crazy that they couldn't let him run free in the village or the tribe, whatever. So they staked him outside the tribe or city, whatever, where he wouldn't be a danger to anyone else. And I guess they fed him. And when Yeshua approached him, remember, they thought they were going to be thrown into the abyss. The Legion. I had a nice little organization just sent me a friend's request. We are the Legion. Wow. Scary stuff. Yeah, scary stuff, right? You know, these people, we kind of like, we don't talk about them all the time. We got our own lives to live, right? They don't live in our heads. Oh, that's the reason why there's a lot of times I'll take 1 or 2 weeks off and, you know, chill out a little bit, get back to that peace of mind, body, and spirit. So the No King Still, that's an attempt. That's the same people that works with, like, the China, the heiress of Walmart. I've heard she's a black sheep of the family. I don't know. I don't even know the woman. I just found that out. So China's allies with Iran. Do you think they want the old leadership back again? They want the same leadership, right? What about Intifada? What about Antifa? We talked about that. It's a communist organization. Now you look at Antifa. They're the same people. They're out there protesting. The people, far as out, took part in October 7th, 2023. They are on our streets. I just showed people the tactics that they use in the West Bank to basically try to blind the troops that were surrounding, or the law enforcement surrounding, the embassy in Tel Aviv, U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. They were using laser weapons. You could say laser pointers, but no, they're a little bit more robust than just like a laser pointer used to point out like a briefing, screen. A briefing screen, I forgot what you call them, or projector screen, or whatever, use those little teeny pointers. No, they were using like military type style pointers, right? Lasers. And they nearly blinded some people. So they did the same thing in the West Bank, in that area, and that they did, I think it was Portland, when they tried to take over the federal building. They pointed that at federal troops securing that border. I mean, that building. Remember President Trump's first term during the Summer of Love operation? This is the same operation. Same people chanting the same things, right? Far left radicals. Who do you think's been funding, or where a lot of that funding's coming from over there for that regime? How do we think they got those advanced ballistic missile systems? They're hard to track because they're mobile. Who provided Iran the missile defense system to protect those nuclear facilities, whatever, that they were trying to basically not only enrich uranium, but proceed towards basically fitting those ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads? Now, I don't know this. There may have been reason why China and Russia is basically calling for all their people to leave Tehran. If they have them, that's probably where they'll be. Deep underground, right? So how are those mobile launchers still able? I know Iran's a huge, it's a big, huge land area, right? Vast, I mean, a lot of land, right? So I understand that Israel can't basically conduct surveillance over the whole country and see these mobile launchers when they pop out, right, before they fire. So that's the greatest threat, and what they have in those deep underground hardened facilities. So people can believe what they will, but President Trump isn't stupid. He's getting, I think, he's still getting, I believe, faulty or non-real-time intelligence briefings because of what the previous U.S. regimes have done and set up. Maybe one of them on the inside is coming clean in the intel, as far as intel community. So, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I believe Israel, when they acted on solely defensive countermeasures, if you call it that. They had to implement the defensive measures, countermeasures, to defend from being wiped off the map. I mean, come on, we got to be real here. The Biden administration funded these radicals. They released over $150 billion to the same regime. Let's go back in history, a little bit of history, to basically, let's go here. Man, let's see. Rumble. I got a refresh Rumble real quick. Okay. It's done. Welcome everybody on Rumble. Let me bring up something vital in history that happened. Now remember the proxies. We all started really being informed in detail about the proxies. Okay. I don't think all of people in Hezbollah or Hamas are that crazy, to, they want to preserve their own self-preservation and, their family too, right? So, I mean, they have to step back when it gets, I don't know any of them. But it appears the regime that's still, I guess, in some way, shape, or form or the other, or just still in charge by like a shoestring, right? Okay, let's remind people what happened in 1983. To be specific, October 23rd, 1983. The 1983 Beirut barracks bombing. I want to remind people what we were doing there. We wore blue helmets. We wore blue helmets. I could have been there because I was almost thinking about joining the Marines. And like the last minute, I chose the Air Force. I would have already been in the Marines. I would have been probably sent there as a blue helmet. It could have happened to any of us that were in the Marines, or if that tried to get in the Marines or wanted to be in the Marines, or, if I chose that path, that could have happened to me. I could have been one of those victims. On October 23rd, 1983, 2 truck bombs were detonated at buildings in Beirut, Lebanon, housing American and French service members of the multinational force in Lebanon, a military peacekeeping operation during the Lebanese Civil War. We were the Blue Helmets. We were there for a peacekeeping operation during the Lebanese Civil War. Remember, Lebanon used to be a Christian country. The leadership in Lebanon used to be Christians. Remember that? A lot of people don't even know that. The attack killed 307 people, 241 U.S. and 58 French military personnel, 6 civilians, and 2 attackers. Early that Sunday morning, the first suicide bomber detonated a truck bomb at the building serving as a barracks for the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines of the 2nd Marine Division, killing 220 Marines, 18 sailors, and 3 soldiers, making this incident the deadliest single-day death toll for the United States Marine Corps since the Battle of Iwo Jima in World War II, and the deadliest single-day death toll for the United States Armed Forces since the first day of the Tet Offensive in Vietnam War. Another 128 Americans were wounded in the blast. 13 later died of their injuries, and they are counted among the number who died. An elderly Lebanese man, a custodian vendor who was known to work and sleep in his concession stand next to the building, was also killed in the first blast. The explosives used were later estimated to be equivalent to as much as 12,000 pounds of TNT. Minutes later, a second suicide bomber struck the 9-story Drakkar building a few kilometers away, where the French contingent were stationed. 55 paratroopers from the 1st Parachute Chasseur Regiment and 3 paratroopers of the 9th Parachute Chasseur Regiment were killed and 15 injured. It was the single worst French military loss since the end of the Algerian War. The wife and 4 children of a Lebanese janitor at the French building were also killed, and more than 20 other Lebanese civilians were injured. A group called the Islamic Jihad claimed responsibility for the bombings and said that the aim was to force the multinational force out of Lebanon. According to Caspar Weinberger, then United States Secretary of Defense, there is no knowledge of who did the bombing. Okay, but see, that's kind of an oxymoron, because they later on go in and tell you. Some analysis highlights the role of Hezbollah, the proxy of Iran. It doesn't say that, but the proxy of Iran. Have we not learned that Enough by now? Calling it an Iranian operation from top to bottom. There is no consensus on whether Hezbollah existed at the time of the bombing. Okay, who was in charge of Iran at the time? Remember the Iranian Revolution, 1979? The same people that's in charge now. Okay? I mean, the new people that come in, right, to replace the old ones. Okay? It's the same people, though. The same organization. The attacks eventually led to the withdrawal of the international peacekeeping force from Lebanon. And that basically, from my understanding, I have to go back and read history. That's when the Christian leadership fell in Lebanon. That's when they fell, where they had been stationed following the Palestinian Liberation Organization withdrawal in the aftermath of Israel's 1982 invasion of Lebanon. Okay, now there's more details about Hezbollah or the ties to Iran in this article. I won't go through all of it. You know, I'm not here to false witness. I don't care who they are. But can you imagine the amount of men and possibly women too that we lost due to IEDs, improvised explosive devices that were set up? Remember the former leader of the IRGC? So these people that in our own government, they are put in these positions. And what's very dangerous, if they are given keys to the intel covert operations and they go rogue, right? They could be, you know, you heard the like a Mission Impossible, all that stuff, double agents, triple agents, whatever. No, they're just mercenaries. They work for whoever pays them the most. They don't care who they work for. If Satan was out there in his red leotards and pitchfork and those little horns, whatever, and he had the most money to give them, they'd work directly for Satan. Or let's just say evil. If they don't even believe in, let's just say they do believe in good or bad, but now they made bad good and good bad, right? We're the bad people, right? The far right. God, it's ridiculous. Remember, in the United States of America, what do we support? We support the Constitution. The Constitution. And by the way, again, for the godzillion time, we are a republic. The United States guarantees to each state in the Union a Republican form of government. It doesn't say in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution that we are a democracy, let alone a mob rules democracy. That's what they are. Our founders warned us about that, about their democracy. You see it play out right on the streets of America, destroying cities. That's their democracy. And that's the first thing they'll say that promotes them to do this lawlessness, these violent acts. Oh, they're defending their democracy. They're nothing but, most of them, a lot of them are just being paid. they answer a Craigslist ad, right? For actors. They'll come up like in Charlottesville on the same bus with people with the tiki torches, right? They don't care. So the Mockingbird media creates the news. I mean, they should be. I think that every MAGA supporter should form a class action lawsuit against the Mockingbird media, mainstream media, and sue them because they have helped gaslight these very, what do you call it, minded people, where you're on the edge, being on your rocker and off your rocker. Anything, any gaslighting, that's all it takes is a little bit of gaslighting. All you got to do is they got to tie somebody up in front of a television screen and put like toothpicks so their eyes can't shut and force them to watch CNN for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Feed them intravenously, whatever. That will definitely produce a radical. Donald Trump is reincarnated Adolf Hitler. Huh? Huh? The stupidity is overwhelming. They don't even support their own preservation, self-preservation, because of their hatred. Who would go after and start bashing into law enforcement when they got, bulletproof vests and their shields and, handguns and rubber bullets and tear gas? They're so crazy. They're so crazy they don't even worry about their own self-preservation. They don't even care about, they care about immigrants so much, right? They care about immigrants so much that they just turn a blind eye to the looting and bashing in these stores run by minority citizens. But what is positive out of all this? What is positive? How can we end on a positive note? Well, maintaining a proper defensive posture. I think the I think they should raise the DEFCON level for troops all over, because remember, they have the intel too. Remember the intel briefings U.S. Border Patrol was given to the president. They didn't even listen to him. Joe Biden wasn't there. Maybe they gave him one of those, what do you call them, darts? And he forgot his name. Do you think they wanted Joe to remember everything that they had put together? Especially the coup that they brought a criminal conspiracy to overthrow Trump before he even got in office? The first time? How they were illegally monitoring every word he said, his communications, written, digital, spoken, private, his own private bedroom, his own pillow talk with Melania, and those people got away with it. Hey, Nurse Julie, good to see you. Okay, so I mean, I would pray that people out there would would be blessed. I call it a blessing. Other people may not call it a blessing. Don't want to be far as away from Christians as they can. They don't want to be preached at. Hey, I don't want to be preached at either. It makes more than one of us. I hate to be preached at or lectured at, especially over commonsensical stuff. I try to use the brain that God gave me the best I can under the circumstances. So, excuse me. I need a Rubio moment here. Let me go get. Remember those debates? Marco, Marco, Marco. Marco, Marco, Marco. Come on, buddy. Come on, lighten up, dude. He's a friend. I consider him. Well, I don't know him personally, but I think he's probably doing a pretty good job. So, yep. So we got an aircraft carrier heading over that way. Okay, I'd like to say this real quick before I forget, because I thought about this earlier. We have not been directly involved in the war helping Israel. Israel, okay, we all know, we've given them weapons, we've provided them weapons, and OPSEC, that kind of thing. You don't want to be go out there telegraphing everything. I watched CNN cover a on the ground, real time, while it was happening, troop movements in Israel, and calling out the idea of positions. Everybody's got a cell phone now, right? Everybody's got a cell phone. But they were doing it. They had a whole studio set up on top of a roof calling out IDF troop movements. Whether you like them or not, are they stupid or something? Does Death to America ring a bell? Oh, they're just venting. They're just venting. It's global warming, and they're not terrorists. They're downtrodden. They're downtrodden. It's global warming. It causes them their terrorist instincts, and we have to give them jobs. So we have to basically open our borders up with open arms and let the terrorists come in and take jobs from American citizens because they are downtrodden. That's actually what Obama cabinet members or administration people were saying. They're still saying the same thing. Thank God they're not in charge of our military. Thank God. Oh, they're so downtrodden. They need jobs. Hiring murderers. They're being found right now. They're working in these factories. Oh, we didn't know that. We thought they had a work permit. Really? Oh, they pay taxes? They pay taxes that helps enrich Gavin Newsom, right? Because when they go buy their tequila or whatever they buy, water, uh, their food, or they buy TV or black mask and black hoodies and goggles and armor. and you know, their little laser pointers. Yeah, when you got sales tax in California, how high is the sales tax in California when we go buy like a, if you want to go buy a, I don't know, a face shield and go wear all black, right? Face shield and black mask, black, you know, what people normally use whenever they rob a bank, right? Because they know they're going to do something illegal, so that's the way they wear it. That's what they wear. No, obviously you're wearing white clothes, right? Like if you're the pipe bomber or whatever, or light gray, and you're setting up the pipe bombs to call in case they secure the Capitol building with Donald Trump's offer of 10,000 troops, whatever. In case you can't breach the Capitol building, you got to call in a bomb scare, right? What do we think the pipe bombers were for? Call in a bomb scare so they can subvert the objectors, subvert and obstruct the process, the joint process of basically reading the objectors' evidence of fraud into records. See, they had to block that because they did not want the people to know. Man, they choreographed that perfectly with a Mockingbird media. Perfectly. They blocked that information from getting to the public because they knew if they found out, the majority of American people actually found out what really happened. Hindsight, perfect vision, right? 2020. That they would have to actually have conduct a real investigation before they did what? Before the certification. They had plan A and plan B. So could I be wrong? Okay, maybe there's like a 0.0000001% chance that I'm wrong. You know why I know I'm right? How come they ain't arrested the pipe bomber yet? They're protecting their own on both sides of the aisle. That's why you don't hear anything about it anymore. Yeah, so remember, Trump offer, I thought that was what you're saying there, FBI Director Kash Patel, that Trump offered 10,000 National Guard troops to help the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, to secure the Capitol based on the intel. We had the intel. They knew that was going to be the threat. They purposely moved temporary barriers aside and motioned the people to come into the Capitol. They said, oh, that was only for law enforcement. That's a bold-faced lie. You know how I can prove it? Because when those people came in, especially on the east side of the Capitol, walked into the building because they opened up the double steel doors from the inside, they were met by plainclothes law enforcement that was standing, or whoever they were, standing on both sides of the hallways as they streamed in. And right about that point where they breached the Capitol building, they evacuated out Congress so they could subvert Congress with the Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State, and the deep states subversion letter. They sent the subversion letters out to the U.S. Senate, the U.S. Congress, the Georgia State Assembly, their Senate, their Congress, and senators, including Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence. They got the subversion letter. That was fraudulent. Nobody talks about it. They put it all behind them now, right? They put it all behind them now. So they didn't know the days leading up to J6 whether they were going to deploy, and who else blocked President Trump from putting troops on the ground to protect the Capitol building that day? General Milley. They're still protecting him too. Why haven't they subpoenaed him and put him under oath? Because people on both sides of the aisle are responsible for that. General Milley said one of his main missions was to ensure a transition, right? And to ensure that Donald Trump did not use military forces on the ground. And if he did order that, he ordered his other chiefs, department chiefs of the Joint Chiefs, to report to him anytime that Donald Trump basically was going to put troops on the ground. They had to report to Milley first, and he would decide whether that was lawful or not. Are you listening to me, people? Please listen to this. There's still a big, huge cover-up to this day of these traitors. They're still in office. They want to attack our economy too. But anyways, General Milley, he put the order out to the other Joint Chiefs of each branch. If Donald Trump is talking about orders to move troops and put troops on the ground in the country, to report to him first. You're going to start an effing war. Remember what Milley said? Trump was going to start an effing war in Iran. Who basically directed the Pentagon to draw up battle plans to go to war in Iran? He got fired, by the way. Overstepping, right? His authority. Bolton, remember him? Trump always said, if we're attacked, our soldiers or our people are attacked, he's going to have a reciprocal response, not blow up all of Iran and kill all the innocent people, have nothing to do with it. Okay. I'm really disgusted with some of these people. Really disgusted. Calling out Air Force One's movements in real time? Okay, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Okay, his movements to go play golf. Can we at least agree with that? The official story, he was there camped out for 12 hours. Who in their right mind would camp out there 12 hours? And not even know if Trump was going to be there. Isn't it more logical if you had that twisted mind like Ruth, that you get there a few hours before, after you were informed of the whereabouts and the movements of President Trump, that he was going to go golfing that morning? Again, there was other people. Trump went to play golf with this guy that's really, really good. I guess Sean Hannity said, well, I was invited or whatever, but I wasn't going to go get killed, right? Uh, Basically, meaning he's not that good of a golfer, right? I guess I mean, you have to ask Sean Hannity, or what about Lindsey Graham? He knew too. Why is Lindsey Graham always around President Trump? Why is he always over there at Mar-a-Lago? I don't know. I I can tell you some stories, but I don't want to go down that road. You know, it some of them are probably true. And it ain't really my business. Don't ask, don't tell. I support that 100%, including people like that are married and start talking about their intimate, uncovering the nakedness of their own wives or girlfriends. I never liked that, man. I was like, dude, you're disrespecting your own wife or your girlfriend by telling me this stuff. I don't want to hear that, man. So, yeah, good to see you, Julie, again. If I didn't say that earlier, Tracy, let's see here. Let me get caught up with, see if there's anything in chat going on. Well, remember, let's go back and let's talk about this again real quick. I'm trying to make it where it's where can help everybody understand it if I didn't express it well enough. The No Kings had nothing to do with Trump. Trump, they got their hatred for Trump's on an entirely different level. The No Kings, they're working. We know now the Walmart heiress. I think it was Christie. I think Julie told me yesterday. Somebody put it in the chat. Walton. Okay, I can't remember her first name. I say Christy or Christine or whatever. Okay, the corporate board members of Walmart, they communicate with Mrs. Walton, Ms. or Mrs. I don't know if she's married or not. It's immaterial. Walton, right? Who else do they communicate with? They communicate with China. Okay. China sells weapons to who? To Iran, or gives them weapons, right? They give them weapons. So who has provided those technologically advanced ballistic missiles? I'm pretty sure China's been the main source of that, but of course, Russia could have played a part in that as well. Remember, I talked about earlier that Russia provided, I think it was even around the nuclear deal or before that. It was during the Biden administration or right after the Biden administration left. $200 million worth of air defense uh, systems to protect what? To protect what? The nuclear facilities. I don't want to state the obvious of what Israel has. There's no sense in doing it. So we're seeing now that they launched those ballistic missiles. Now they do have precision targeting on those ballistic missiles that struck Tel Aviv. One struck outside our embassy, Nobody died in that attack. So remember, President Trump, reciprocal. We're moving in other forces, additional forces to set up caps like we did after Desert Storm over Iraq. Remember the southern and northern no-fly zones? Is to protect our people and other innocent people from being slaughtered. It's necessary. To defend Israel was necessary to protect over 100,000 American citizens that are there either as tourists or they're citizens. They have a residence there. They probably have multiple residents, one in America, one there, or more residents in America, one there in Israel. They travel back and forth. Remember, Christians worship in peace in the four quarters. Or four quarters. So we have to protect our people. Muslims worship there in peace as well. Remember, the North Bank or certain cities are Arab Israelis. They're Israeli citizens. And thank you for those peace-loving, honest descendants of Ishmael. I know what the scripture says about Wild and his hand on every other man. I remember that. I remember that. So even we were told way back then that they support violence. Ishmael's hand will be on everyone, and everyone's hand will be on Ishmael, something like that. They're duking it out or whatever. Yeah, so I do believe that we have to raise up our defense at a DEFCON level, because remember, they're already here. The same people that attacked Israel on October 7th of 2023, the same people, some, not all of them, of course, are here right now in our country. Those people that facilitated and directed the invasion into our country would let's just use fentanyl alone. I hate using just fentanyl alone, but it's the most obvious. Thousands and thousands of American citizens have died from fentanyl alone. I think I heard Tucker Carlson with Steve Bannon in the War Room say that he just had one of his friends die from fentanyl. It's horrible. And we know it's coming across where? Predominantly through the southern border, right? Through the land, air, and sea invasion under the Biden administration, third term. Man, see, they got their people all set up, ready to start their next race war or uncivil war. They even made movies about it. Okay, so again, people are perfectly clear about the no kings. We are not a monarchy. That's obvious. They're not stupid. They know that. That Donald Trump they have in the same category to get rid of, but this is a combined alliance with China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia. They want to prevent the eldest son of the Shah of Iran, from taking over. He's the prince. They call him the Prince of Iran. Not everyone calls him that. I guess the people will have to decide that. If the people decide they want to get rid of the current regime, that has oppressed many of them since 1979. I hate to blame Jimmy Carter, but at least he tried to get our hostages back. And that's why they did not want the same thing happening again as far as Operation Neptune Spear. That's the reason why they never had a live feed, according to the CIA director, Leon Panetta. You got the information that proves me wrong? Please place it in the comment section, because once the live stream's over, the comment section goes away. No, not the comment, the chat. The chat goes away, the comment section. Put it in the comment section. If you got any information, any of the stuff I'm sharing tonight or going over, or I've repeated like a million times, put it in the comment section, either on Rumble or YouTube, and I'll make the necessary corrections. Now, remember that China has satellites in space, surveillance satellites. Obviously, it's not a secret. The United States has satellites in space, surveillance satellites. Obviously, other countries do as well. I'm going to say this right now. Israel can take care of themselves. But if other countries join in, that's going to be a problem. So China, Russia, North Korea, they probably know what the current leadership, if they're still even in charge, what type of weapons and capabilities they have. And I hope they come clean, because, listen, nobody wants World War III, and we sure as heck do not want a nuclear holocaust. Because once one of them fires it off, who's going to stop the other ones from firing off too? Oh, Israel conducted an unprovoked attack on Israel, on Iran. It was totally unprovoked. I don't care what position certain individuals had or have or don't have. I could care less. Your logic is faulty based on the history. Go back to the Liberty. Okay? Go back to the Liberty. Newsflash. Yeah, it's horrible what happened to those men on the Liberty. Those that were responsible should have been held accountable. You don't hold a whole country and every person in that country responsible for the bad apples. But by the way, it was silent operations. They did not inform the Liberty that they were going into a kill box. Now, if that information is wrong, please correct me again. Put the information that you have or they have in the comment section, and I'll look at it. Any time I make a mistake, if it's brought to my attention, I will correct it. If I actually find out it's a legitimate mistake, or if it's just some kind of propaganda or BS, just because you don't like RH. So, anyways, well, we still got at least 4 people on YouTube that's standing strong in here, listening in. Okay, Giant Voice, you got to keep your head on the swivel. Remember Fort Hood? They're in the wire. They're in the wire. What happens when they're in the wire? It's obvious, people. No kings. That means no, the king of all kings, right? No kings at all for them, right? No kings. Now, what kind of dictator or tyrant would basically promise that he was going to give the power back to the people? It's obvious if you have common sense, right? Okay, we're going to end this live stream on a positive note. Now, even if you believe in God or you don't believe in heaven or whatever, or hell or, whatever, you don't believe in God at all, you got to at least believe in good or bad, right? Not bad that's good, not good that's bad. You got to at least believe in bad, right? So if you're only a third, if your leader has only the third of the angels and they were cast out of heaven, given the big fat boot out of heaven, right? Means you're only 33%. You're a minority. I like to mention again, whether people like me saying this or not, 69 to 70% of Americans identify themselves as Christians. We know how we're founded, so that for some reason it upsets people when we identify our country was founded by Judeo-Christians, right? Judeo-Christianity. If we wasn't founded by Judeo-Christianity, we wouldn't have the same laws that was in the Old Testament, right? During the time of Judah, the kingdom of Judah. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not false witness, even if you don't like Donald Trump, right? Thou shalt not lie about Donald Trump, even if you don't like Donald Trump. Thou shalt not lie about Israel, even if you don't like Israel. Thou shalt not lie against Jews, even if you don't like Jews, right? Thou shalt not lie about Christians, even if you don't like Christians. Thou shalt not lie about RH, even if you don't like RH. Thou shalt not lie about Julie, even if you don't like Julie. Thou shalt not lie about Tracy, even if you don't like Tracy. Thou shalt not lie about anybody. We got laws, or civil like laws, defamation, libel, slander, right? Where do we think those laws came from? Thou shalt not false witness against thy neighbor. Okay, we just read Numbers chapter 35? Was it verse 30? Let me go out there because I don't want to be fact checked about a Bible verse when I could just open it up and thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not murder anybody. It doesn't say, well, I don't like that person. I don't like that country. Go bomb you know what out of them, right? Is that what it says in the Old Testament? Okay. There's one thing I didn't mention about that article. Let's see here. Numbers chapter 35, verse 30. Whoso murdereth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. but one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Whether that person, okay, what about, it's, if there's only one person claiming you did something wrong and you say you didn't do it, so it's your word against the other one, right? It's like offsetting penalties. Okay, well, we don't know, that's why they have an investigation. They have, so this is what we got. This is what we have today. That's the way it's supposed to be. You got one person, E. Jean Carroll, right? Oh, it's her word. It's her word against Donald Trump's. Donald Trump's word against hers. They just maliciously prosecuting. Look about the Russia stuff. Those were all lies. Those people are, I can't judge them. Do you think they're Christians or good people? Even if Obama was accused of doing something that he didn't do, I would go out there and say he did it. I mean, I have my opinions and theories about, his birth certificate and how long. Why would you take 2 or 3 years to provide your long form birth certificate? But, Sheriff Arpaio, they did an investigation, looked like pretty legit to me. They proved, I think, forensically that it was a fraud. So nobody cares because it's Obama, right? And by the way, God doesn't favor persons because they got a lighter or darker skin tan or no skin tan at all. God doesn't favor persons because they're rich or poor. God doesn't favor persons because they belong to the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, as far as that goes, or they're an independent. God doesn't favor persons. There's so much. One law for one people. One law for our country. One immigration law. If the person don't like our immigration laws, then too bad. Don't be judging us for enforcing our immigration, our laws that we have. If you don't like the laws, change the laws. I guess that's what the Mexican president is trying to allude to. She wants comprehensive immigration reform. That's another dog whistle, in my opinion. I could be wrong. For amnesty. Let's just give them all amnesty, right? No background checks, nothing. Okay. So back to the positive note. Remember, even Satan and his rebellious angels, right? Were only a third. That's only 33%. What is the last poll I looked at as far as how many people identify themselves as Christians in the United States of America alone? How many are there percentage-wise? 69 to 70%. Okay, 2/3 is how much? The bad angels, Satan got kicked out of heaven. There's a third because they were accusing our brethren day and night. Remember one of the reasons why? Russia. Donald Trump is a homophobe. He's a xenophobe. Okay, Mark Levin, we're isolationists? Are you serious, dude? Do you even know how many troops we got on the ground in Iraq? What do you think they're there for? Sherlock, Mr. Never Trumper? You're supposed to be a constitutional scholar or whatever. Okay, I don't want to divide up that's the devil's tactics, right? least Mark Levin, you came around from being a never Trumper, right? How's that going to work out for you when we found out when it, you know, uh, we were talking about Obama maybe being from a different country and looking into that and, trying to get the birth certificate. Remember Loretta Fuddy, Stanley Ann Dunham's good friend? Remember what happened to her before she can be uh, basically appear before a court and put on the stand about why she certified it, get to the bottom of it? She died, remember? Hopefully she wasn't murdered, but hopefully she was taken into protective custody or something. They protect the woman. I know it was a plane crash. Everybody was alive. It was right offshore of Hawaii, whatever. Most people don't even know about that. So if we have 70% that identify themselves as Christian, do you think true Christians like people lying about Donald Trump? I hear a lot of these lies about Trump. Oh, he wants to be a king. He's the Antichrist. Well, I guess he could be. Promise peace, and in the end, he goes to war, right? Something like that. Trust but verify. I like Trump. I continue to support him. If that guy ever stands up in a holy place and proclaims himself to be God, I'm not taking that knee. Like the far left really does with no problem. They take the knee all the time, remember? Remember what they took the knee for. That's important. Oh, it's to represent the time that, what's his name, Chavez or Chavin or whatever, had his knee on his neck. Yeah, that was bad. I admit it. That was bad. The optics were horrible. But you go out there and you murder innocent people because of one man's actions. I'm pretty sure he's going to be he's going to be punished 100 times over what he should have been punished. He didn't pull out a gun and shoot him in, whatever, or billy club, and the guy was laying on the ground, a very big guy. That all happened. That happened after they tried to get him inside the car. The guy was begging him. If it was me, that wouldn't have happened, or anybody else, right? They offered him how many times to get in the back of the car if he'd have just followed the directions of whatever the law enforcement officer was. Get in the back of the car, live to fight another day. He could still be with us. And they wouldn't have had the motive to go out there and hold innocent people accountable for what one person did. What about that counterfeit $20 bill? Why was the police even called to begin with? Nobody even knows that because the Mockingbird media covered it all up. Why do they keep doing this? All that was inadmissible in the court, as far as my understanding. The autopsy found out he had an enlarged heart. He was doing meth. I think he had meth in the system and he had fentanyl in the system. When he was trying to fight 3 or 4 police officers from trying to get him in the car, close the door, take him down, have him booked. The police were called because he tried to front. Well, he gave a clerk in the store at the tobacco stand a counterfeit $20 bill. The employee raised that up after he left, and the manager said, if you take a counterfeit bill, you have to pay for that out of your own pocket. That's what that guy did. The manager told him to try to go confront him and say, hey, no, you gave us a $20 bill. We got the video footage of him going through his pockets, reaching. This is before they tried to put him in the police car. They covered it all up. The Mockingbird media covered it all up because that was how they're going to take Trump down, right? They tried every way they could just to take Trump down. They started a war on our streets, killing innocent people, murdering innocent people, burning down businesses, assaults, you name it. They did it. And they got away with it. You had a Marxist mayor of D.C. actually have the name of that organization painted on the streets of Pennsylvania Avenue and taunted the President of the United States from coming out behind the perimeter security of the White House. So what? Use your imagination what the Marxist mayor wanted to do or have done. She was basically trying to promote removing the perimeter barriers from around the White House because they breached the White House in the insurrection trying to murder President Trump. Remember when they're throwing all those bricks? They were basically regrouping in Lafayette Park. They nearly burnt down St. John's Church, and they're throwing bricks at the Capitol. I think it was the Metropolitan Police and U.S. Secret Service. They bashed one Secret Service guy in the head with a brick, and blood was just gushing out of his head. I don't know if they covered up, the Mockingbird media covered up all the injuries or not, but it doesn't seem like they reported on the injuries it was peaceful, remember? It was the police that was aggressive. It was Donald Trump, basically, that tear gassed those peaceful kumbaya people. So Donald Trump could go on a photo op. Is that right, General Milley? Sir? I don't want to be part of it. Oh my gosh, the President of the United States held a Bible in his hand. I'm not going to be political. We're going to do what's right, states the guy that has a degree in political science. What a fraud. I hate to say it. I mean, I respect his service to our country, but that was part of his service to our country. It overshadows, in my opinion, the rest of his service of over 30 years, I think it was. I don't even like to say that about a fellow person that served in the military like I did. I don't. What do you think they'd have done to me? If I went around and I had an ally in Beijing and said, don't worry about Donald Trump, we got him in a box. If Donald Trump's going to order something, we're going to let you know. Remember, no kings. No kings. Donald Trump is a king. He's actually performing his constitutional duties. One of his main duties is in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. The United States shall ensure that each state in the Union has a Republican form of government and the United States guarantees that each state in the Union has a Republican form of government, not a democracy or democratic form of government, a Republican form of government. That's how we were founded. And that the United States ensures against invasion and against domestic violence. That's the President of the United States' official duties, more so in the United States than abroad. That's the reason why I'm suggesting that we need to advance or strengthen our DEFCON level. Okay, back to the positive deal here. Just with Christians alone, we have a 70% majority. Even, you know, if we're true to the word Christians, we're actually practicing Christians. It's not by name only, right? That's more than Satan's rebellious angels that were kicked out. There's only 33% of what's in heaven, you know, that we worship. We're even a little bit above 2/3 of that majority. Instead of 66%, we're 69 or 70%. Just with Christians alone. And there's a lot of people that haven't been blessed with faith. They don't believe in murder, no matter who's murdered. They don't believe in or support death. They're not the party. They're not supporting the party of death, wars, destruction, lies, stealing, especially all the money they stole from taxpayers, trillions of dollars of unconstitutional theft. So remember, most people that, especially out there working, they don't want to be stopped by some mob on the street. They don't want their interstates blocked, and because you can hear somebody screaming at you and lecturing you with profanity and everything. We want free passage. We're sovereign citizens. We should be that's like an arrest, false arrest, like imprisonment. You get you where you're trapped in your cars because they block the freeway or the streets, right? And then they surround you and start bashing windows and stuff out. That's only a very small percentage. If you're talking about, they try to take this and spin it around, right? That's what the propaganda media does. And that's what these snakes in the intel that are basically in intel, they got their own teams. They're compartmentalized themselves. They got their own little secret wars going on, even in our country, to influence our elections and take out people that are opponents to their personal financial interest. I hate to say it. I'm not talking about those that are honest, patriotic men and women in the three-letter agencies, the DOD, Armed Forces, CIA, DHS, U.S. Secret Service, FBI, wherever you're at, law enforcement, local, whatever, sheriffs, police officers, city police, whatever, county police, whatever. I'm not talking about the honest ones that are out there, patriots that love our country, they're out there risking their lives to keep us all safe every single day. You know, I'm not talking about you. Please. I'm not trying to divide our base. I'm trying to help those people that are on a different, I don't know, different dimension to come to their senses. This is our home. No other country out there in the world, except for the one with a king and others in the EU, why are they allowing that? Unvetted. Well, to grow the economy, to make us richer, we need more people to come in to pay our taxes, our state taxes. If they're here, they're not even here. They don't. Oh, that's right. They're giving Social Security cards. Unvetted here and giving work permits. Really? So much for the American citizens. You know, last time I checked, Mexico, their unemployment was lower than ours. You know, you had all those people streaming across the board. I checked, I think it was 2022 or something like that. I checked the unemployment. Somebody could do a quick check and put it in the chat if you find it real quick. I can't leave the where I'm at now, you know, watching the YouTube because it could get shut down. So, anyways, it's getting kind of late. Uh, please pray for all of us. Those that are in chat, please pray for all of us. Pray for our country. Pray for the president. Hey, great to see you there. Good to see that name, the search for truth. Yeah, we're still searching for the truth, right? We've gone through a lot of places to find the truth, right? The whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Man, I remember that Veterans Night like it was almost like yesterday. Can't remember what I said on it, but I remember I was passionate. Somebody said in chat I was off my meds, right? Remember Travis? Good to see you. But I gotta basically leave on a positive note. We do have the majority. We've had the majority, you know, and please, people, come to terms with our president and don't be supporting these people that are still trying to overthrow him. Don't remember. Don't remember. Plead the fifth. I know nothing. Remember Sergeant Schultz, Hogan's Heroes. I know nothing. I see nothing, hear nothing, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. I remember that trip to Mar-a-Lago, man. That was a classic. Flying that beautiful American flag. And when those people driving up and passing by and giving us the California greeting, you know, the California greeting, I'd raise that flag up even higher and smile even wider. That flag does have that flag does have a lot of power, man, to cause them to go unwired like that. All I have to do is just carry the American flag around. Yeah, we even saw unidentified flying objects, didn't we? People's going to say, "You're lying, RH. You didn't see no UFO, unknown aerial phenomenon." Phenomenon. Man, yeah, it was. Hey, we're not lying, man. We saw. I was in the Air Force over 20 years. I never saw anything like that. First, I thought it might be flares, but they were like flying in formation or something. I don't know, man. Maybe it was drones. I don't know, with red lights on them or something. I don't know, man. But I've never seen that before. And it was, if those were like markers or lights from a plane, that's the biggest darn plane I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know of any planes other than what, an F-35. I guess an F-35 could do that. And it was bad. There's no shoulder, where you can get off on the side of the road and take pictures, whatever. And I wish we'd have got a video of that. And we could have started our own UFO channel. Okay, so I have to get something in my stomach, people. It's been a long day, and I'm not whining, but it's 10 o'clock, 2,200 hours, or almost, in Central Florida, and I haven't ate my baby food yet, and I'm getting kind of famished here. I'm getting lightheaded. Lightheaded. I don't know if I could hang in another round. I probably could go another hour, but I don't want to bore you all the tears. So, anyways, trust but verify. Remember, we have the majority. We don't have to go out there and narrow in our video cameras, right, to make it look like there's, you know, we don't need to basically have the cameras pointing at the crowds in the stand and not pointing in another direction. And 2/3 of the rest of the stands are nobody in them, right? Oh, anyways, we have the majority. All we have to do is just stay on the right team and don't allow that guy with the red leotards and the pitchfork and the horns divide us. That's his favorite tactic. Divide and conquer, right? We're in this together, whether you believe it or not. With that said, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream, and God bless. Thank you.